The Supreme Personality.
Who has 6 opulence?
6 opulences. What are the 6 opulences?
All is strength, all fame, all renunciation, all beauty,
All
and
knowledge,
all knowledge.
all
6.
power.
Okay, so we got wealth, knowledge, strength, fame, beauty, and renunciation. Okay, so yeah, Krishna knows everything, past, present, and future. He's the strongest, right? He lifts Govardhan Hill. His fame is spread all throughout the innumerable universes. His beauty is so startling, so charming, that he bewilders even Cupid, right? He's called Madana Mohan, and he's called Krishna, which means all attractive. And so he has all these attractive features, right? If somebody has a lot of money, then we become interested in them. If someone's famous, if they're beautiful, if they're strong, then we become interested and they become attractive. So Krishna's got all these good qualities in full. And at the same time, he's not attached, he's not possessive, he doesn't need anything, right? So he's completely self-satisfied. So that's his renunciation. And then see, all of these things indicate a person, right? If we say beauty, it means there has to be a beautiful person. If someone is famous, it means it's a abstract concept is not knowledgeable, is not famous, is not wealthy. We're talking about a person. These are all personal attributes. So when we say Bhagavan, it means God in his personal feature, but it's the highest, most complete realization of God. So also Bhagavan means we're not talking about Brahman, because Brahman is just the first stage of God realization, that, there's an all-pervasive energy that everything is made of, everything is resting in. And then there's Paramatma, which is the super soul within the heart, the localized form of the Lord, a partial expansion. And then there's Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is the source of the other two. And also those Brahman and Paramatma are also included within Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is a complete realization of God, the Supreme Person. So to get the full benefit of reading the Bhagavad Gita, studying the Bhagavad Gita, we have to accept from the beginning, from the very get-go, that Krishna is not an ordinary person. He is Bhagavan. He's God. So everything that he says is absolutely true, totally perfect, and meant for the good of all beings. So when we have that faith, then we can go beyond an academic study of the Bhagavad Gita, and we can actually open our hearts, to receiving this sublime message of Krishna's instructions here. Okay. So, yeah, it might seem that Arjuna is being very compassionate, right? His arguments that he gave, they were reasonable arguments, right? He didn't want to have sin, concur sin. He didn't want, people that he loved to have to die. He was worried about what would happen to the women and children and society after the battle. So he was being it seems like Arjuna is being compassionate, and Krishna is not actually being very compassionate on Arjuna, at least. So what's going on here? So Srila Prabhupada explains that Arjuna's compassion is actually not real compassion. It's just misplaced. He wants to be compassionate, but he doesn't know how to apply his compassion. So he's being compassionate for the body. And then Prabhupada gives that example of a drowning man, saving the dress of a drowning man, right? Probably you've seen this little skit. The devotees usually do this skit for, preaching programs and things, that there's a woman there, and she's walking with her husband on the beach. Husband takes a dip in the ocean, and then he gets carried out to sea by some waves, and he's drowning out there. And then she's crying, "Oh no, someone please save my husband." And then, somebody walks by who's a strong swimmer. He's like, "Oh, I'll help." He takes off his shoes, he dives in the water, he very, heroically swims out to the drowning man. And then he takes off his shirt, and then he brings it back to the beach, and then he brings his shirt to the wife and is like, I've done it. I've saved your husband. And she looks at him like, are you crazy? That's not my husband. That's his shirt. So it's ridiculous, right? So that's how ridiculous it is to think that we're saving a person's life by saving their body. So so Arjuna is just thinking about the bodies. He's like, yeah, Bhishma, Drona, all my family, I'm very attached to their bodies. And I'm attached to their bodies because their bodies are related to my body. And we have these bodily relationships. And if we can just avoid killing their body, then we can all be happy. And Krishna's like, no, Arjuna, this is wrong. This is not what it is. Yeah, that it's the soul. So now, soon, Krishna is going to start teaching us all about the soul and the difference between the body and the soul, so that Arjuna can understand really what's meant to be saved. Okay. So, yeah, sometimes, like Arjuna, we think we're being compassionate when actually we're just being weak. Can you think of any examples of that when we're trying to be compassionate, but we're just actually being weak? I'll tell you an example. So, how about uh, you're you're an adult and you're adults. Imagine you're an adult. So you're an adult and you're teaching in a school, or you have maybe you're just a teaching assistant or administrative staff member in a school, and you know that there is an adult who is abusing the children. So yeah, so but that adult who's abusing the children happens to be a friend of yours, or maybe even a family member of yours. So you're thinking, oh, well, this is not right, but the person is my family member. I don't want them to get in trouble. I don't want them to lose their job. I don't want them to be, hated by society. And so I'm just going to stay quiet about it. So it looks like they're being compassionate, but the compassion is misplaced, right? Because what about the child who's being abused? What about the other children that are potential victims? What about even the future of that person, the abuser? What are the chances that they're going to get the help that they need to stop abusing children if it doesn't come to light? So in this case, uh, compassion means that we need to take a stand. And we need to do the right thing to protect innocent people and to rectify the perpetrators. So this is exactly what Krishna wants Arjuna to do. He wants him to take a stand. These Kauravas, you're thinking they're your family members, but they're actually demonic. And they're causing a lot of trouble for other people. They're basically corrupt and abusive and unjust and criminal. And it doesn't matter that they're your family members or your friends or who they are, they need to be rectified. So give up this weakness that's based on bodily concept of life and fight. Okay, so now in response to this, Arjuna is going to again voice a few concerns, and he's going to admit his weakness, and he's going to ask for help. So let's read texts 4 to 9. Yes, go ahead, Nimarta.
Text 4. Arjuna said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counteract with arrows in the battlement like Bhishma and Drona, who were worthy of my worship? Text 5. It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. Text 6. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live, yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. Text 7. Now I am confused about my duty and I have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Text 8. I can find no means to drive away this grief, which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrevealed, the kingdom on the earth and sovereignty like that of the demigods in heaven. Text 9. Sanjay said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chaser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent.
Okay, yeah, so here Arjuna is, yeah, one of his complaints here is in text 4, he's saying, O killer of Madhu, O killer of enemies, how can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship? So it's significant here that Arjuna is addressing him as Madhusudana. It says, starts off saying, Adisudana, Madhusudana. So he's saying that Krishna, you've killed your enemies, you killed demons like Madhu, but Bhishma is not my enemy, and Bhishma Dev is not a demon, and neither is Dronacharya. Like, you never killed your teacher, you never killed your grandfather. You're asking me to do things that, like, even you didn't do, and I don't know if you would do them. So he's kind of challenging Krishna here that this is just like, I mean, if they were my enemies, if I would kill them, but I don't see them as my enemies, especially Bhishma and Drona. How can I even? And I should be worshiping them, not killing them. So, yeah. And then Prabhupada makes the point here that in his purport to text 5, he says, according to scriptural codes, a teacher who engages in abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. So Bhishma and Drona, yeah, it says here, this is the answer to the question that was asked at the beginning of class. Bhishma and Drona were obliged to take the side of Duryodhana because of his financial assistance. Although they should not have accepted such a position simply on financial considerations. So, yeah, so they lost their sense of discrimination by acting on the basis of financial considerations rather than morality, right? And then, therefore, they lost their respectability. So Prabhupada is saying that they should be rejected. When someone loses their sense of discrimination and they have their priorities in the wrong place and they act out of greed or lust or anger rather than out of, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, then that teacher is not a teacher, they're just a cheater. And they should be rejected. So that's what Prabhupada is saying. Okay. And now text 6, we get Arjuna's last reason, his 5th reason for not fighting, which is basically indecision. Right? He says, nor do we know which is better. I don't know if it's better to conquer them or be conquered by them. So he doesn't know what to do. So that's a reason to not fight, is he just don't know what to do. Right? Like Chanika Pandit would say, if you don't know whether to eat or not eat, then don't eat. And if you don't know whether to go somewhere or not go, don't go. Like that. So Arjuna doesn't know whether to fight or not fight. So then he's deciding, then I won't fight. So he's using
When
that
in doubt,
logic.
leave out.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. So, and then in text 7, Arjuna literally admits that Krishna, you told me that I'm being weak. You told me I have this Hridaya Durvalyam, petty weakness of heart. You're absolutely correct. He says, I'm confused about my duty and I've lost all composure because of miserly weakness. This weakness has just really messed me up. It has really overwhelmed me. It's caused me to lose my composure, to forget my duty. forget myself, basically. Yeah. So this is, it's very Arjuna is being self-aware. He's not a proud person. He doesn't say, "How dare you say those things about me? Don't you know I'm a Kshatriya? I'm one of the royal family." And he doesn't get defensive when Krishna calls him weak. He says, "Yeah, actually, you're right. You're totally right." And so this is the first step of learning, okay, is to admit that we don't know something. And or the first step of advancement or any kind of growth is admitting where we're at, being honest about where we're at, admitting that we need help, recognizing our weaknesses. Yeah. So recognizing our weaknesses is the first step to becoming strong. Right? Like if you think everything's okay, then you're not going to improve yourself. But as soon as you realize, oh, I have some faults, I have some weaknesses, then the next step is, okay, how can I fix this? How can I become strong? How can I improve? How can I learn? So this is very good. So confusion is good because it makes us humble, and that humility qualifies us to receive the blessings of the Lord and the spiritual master, so that we can rise above the perplexities of life and find some actual permanent solutions. So this is what Arjuna is doing. He's realizing he's weak. He's realizing he needs help. He's realizing Krishna is someone who can help him. And so he's surrendering to his lotus feet. Now I'm your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. And then, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about how he opens by saying, by nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. So in other words, he's saying that this material world is designed to be a source of perplexity. It's designed to confuse us, to bewilder us, to frustrate us. It's designed to basically bring us to our knees and call out for help. And until we do that, Krishna is just going to turn up the heat, or Maya is just going to keep turning up the heat, turning up the heat, turning on the pressure, and making it more and more bewildering until finally we're like, I give up. I'm just done with this. I really need to get out of this material world and all the suffering that it brings me. And then we'll approach Guru. So yeah, Shishyas teham shadimam tvam prapanam. So now I'm surrendering to you. I'm approaching you as your Shishya. And please instruct me. Bruhitan me. Please tell me. Tell me what to do. Tell me what is the Shreya. Right? He says, Yat Shreya Syan Nishchitam. So Shreya means the ultimate good. And there are two kinds of good things. One is Preya and one is Shreya. So Preya means short-term benefit. Right? That I get some food to eat, or I get some money in my pocket, or I get some appreciation for something nice that I've done, right? Sort of like feel good things in the immediate. And then Shreya means ultimate benefit, means our long-term spiritual benefit that enables me to attain the actual perfection of life, to achieve the purpose of human life, to realize myself, to realize God, to go back to Godhead. That's Shreya. So sometimes we need to forego the Preya in order to get the Shreya. If we're only thinking about Preya, we're just going to end up, riding up and down on the waves of material energy. But as soon as we start thinking about Shreya, then we can rise above the waves and actually be steady and peaceful. So that's what Arjuna is asking for, is please tell me, what is the Shreya? What is my ultimate good, and how do I achieve that? Please instruct me. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so here in this section, and also a couple more verses here, there's some general principles There's actually an essay that you might have to write, or at least we should discuss, which is general principles that we can derive from Arjuna's dilemma here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So what are some general principles that you've noted here? Or, well, maybe you haven't. If you read the purports, what are some general principles that we can learn from Arjuna's situation that we can apply to our lives for our spiritual advancement? Hari Priya Radha? Or did you have a question on something else?
Yes, Madhya, I have a question.
Go ahead.
In verse 6, purport Mishra Prabhupada mentioned in last paragraph that how can we first control our senses, then we elevate ourselves in knowledge. Before knowledge, how can we elevate ourselves or control our senses?
He says, unless the senses are controlled, there's no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge. And without knowledge and devotion, there's no chance of liberation. But you're asking, well, we need to first control the senses and then we get knowledge. But without knowledge, how can we control the senses? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we need at least a little bit of knowledge. But the knowledge that he's talking about here is transcendental knowledge. But at least we need to know that, see, even without transcendental knowledge, you can realize that you need to control your senses, right? Like somebody who is just like constantly overeating and eating the wrong kinds of foods, very unhealthy foods, then they're going to get sick, they're going to get overweight, they're going to get diseased, they're going to be unhappy, unhealthy and unhappy. So then they realize that they need to control their senses, right? Or especially if someone is drinking, having illicit sex, they're going to suffer as a result of those things. So then they realize that they need to control their senses. And then by controlling the senses, then when we make an effort to control the senses, then knowledge comes from that, because that's basically coming to the mode of goodness. And from the mode of goodness, we get knowledge. So, but the ultimate way of controlling the senses is by using the senses in the service of the Lord. But that requires some transcendental knowledge, right? How to take it a step further. Yeah, it says that all these considerations by Arjuna definitely prove that not only was he a great devotee of the Lord, but he was also highly enlightened and had complete control over his mind and senses. So yeah, it's not that Arjuna was acting he's not acting impulsively, he's not reacting to Duryodhana. He actually wants to do the right thing. And that's the point here, is that he wants to do the right thing. He's not just being pushed and pulled all over the place by his mind and senses. He's acting according to principles. Okay. All right. So then what are some of the principles here that we can apply from what Arjuna is experiencing? Jai Tulsi?
Hare, Hare Krishna, Mataji, Mataji, in text 4 purport, Prabhupada has written, respectable superiors like Bhishma and the grandfather and Dronacharya, the teacher, are always worshipable. Even if they attack, they should not be counteracted. So can we take this as a principle that we should always respect our superiors?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good principle. Always respect the superiors and maintain a humble attitude. As long as they don't lose their sense of discrimination, right? If we see them losing their sense of discrimination, acting in abominable ways, then we might need to just distance ourselves from them, right? Not that we don't need to disrespect them, but we just keep a distance, keep a safe distance. Okay. What else? Yes, Krishna Priya.
Hare Krishna Mataji. In text 5, Arjuna is saying to Krishna that he's not interested in worldly gain, but he want to like even though if he wants to fight and he'll get the worldly gain, but he's not interested in that, and because of that his humble mood, he wants to serve his superior, and he's hesitate to fight with them. So number one point is, as Jaya Tulsi Mataji mentioned, that he wants to respect his superior, and as a devotee he's not in any kind of worldly gain. He also don't want to become famous, but Krishna mentioned that if you won't fight, it will lead to infamy instead to higher planets. So he was not like after these all things that famous and that kind of worldly gain, which usually nowadays person wanted to do. So I think this is the general principle
Okay.
we can learn.
So don't be driven by desires for worldly gain.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We should be driven by some spiritual desires to serve,
Desires.
right? To
Yeah,
purify
yes.
the heart, to please Guru and Krishna. Okay. How about from text 7? Very important general principle there. Yes, Daya?
Mataji, I think to be submissive towards like the one, like if we are confused, we should surrender to a guru. We should accept a supreme spiritual master for the spiritual help.
Good. Yeah, that's very important. So yeah, Prabhupada writes in the purport, in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who's in the disciplic succession. Yeah. And then he also says there, this human form of life is the most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. There's two things there. One is that this human life is very valuable and we can use it for self-realization. And the other is that in order to solve the problems of life, we need a guru. We have to approach a spiritual master. Okay. How about from text 8?
And Mataji, you mentioned that we should ask for a prayer, not Shreya. Shreya is like a short-term benefit, and prayer is a long-term benefit, and realizing the God that is also.
Okay, good. So we should, when we're making important decisions in life, we should make them on the basis of what is good for Shreya. And even if it means we have to sacrifice some Preya, right? If we can get both, great. But if it's one or the other, then we should choose that which is favorable for Shreya, for our ultimate good. Right, like on fasting days. Preya means I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. But Shreya means, no, this is a special day. I can make a lot of spiritual advancement by fasting today. So I'm going to, forego the Preya and continue my fasting and get the Shreya. Okay, Krishna Priya?
One general principle which we can get from the verse 8, I think Arjuna was so lamenting, and in his most lamenting situation, he took a shelter of Krishna. So that's a general principle. Maybe we can learn that during our worst situation, or when we are so confused and when we are lamenting, so we can take the shelter of Krishna for proper guidance.
Okay, that's a similar point from 7, right?
Yeah.
I mean, here Krishna is representing the guru because Arjuna is approaching him as a guru. So whether we're confused about our duty or whether we're just lamenting because there was some terrible thing happened, some tragedy in our lives, whatever it is, we need to turn to Krishna. Krishna's representative, the guru, to try to get help. In text 8 purport, there's a nice point Prabhupada makes. He says, academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc., are all useless in solving the problems of life. So that's important to know, because sometimes we think, oh, the way to have a good material life, the way to solve all my problems of life is I need an education, I need a good job, I need, a high position, social respectability, and then I'll be well situated, then I'll be happy. And then also all my problems of life will be solved. The problem is saying, nope, academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc., these are all useless for solving the problems of life. Because what are the real problems of life? Birth, disease, old age, and death, right? Those are the actual problems. And they can't be counteracted by any accumulation of wealth or status or economic development. Haripriya Radha.
Another thing was mentioned that if we are seeking peace in different ways, we have to like take refuge in Krishna consciousness, or if we achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The two references are there. If we are seeking happiness or we are seeking peace or harmony.
Okay, good. Then we can get it from approaching Krishna or his books, right? The Science of Krishna. Yeah, and that's true. I've definitely experienced that in my life, that whenever I'm going through difficulties, if I just open up Srimad Bhagavatam and start reading, you get so much peace, so much solace, so much happiness. You forget all about your problems. Or you start to actually see your problems from a transcendental perspective, and you start seeing them as actually Krishna's mercy. So that's good. There's another one here in text 8 purport. Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya said that one who is a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. And he says that a couple of times. He quotes the verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It doesn't matter if one is from a Brahmin family or a Shudra family or a low family. It doesn't matter if he's a sannyasi or a brahmachari or a grihasta. Doesn't matter what the person's social position is. If they know the science of Krishna, say Krishna Tattvaveti, then say Guru Hai. Then they can be a spiritual master. So yeah, because we're talking about the one principle is that whenever we're in difficulty, confusion, lamentation, we should approach a spiritual master. And then the second principle is defining who is a bona fide spiritual master. It doesn't matter. It's not, their qualification is not based in any way on their material circumstance, their birth, their type of body, their caste, or whatever. It's just whoever knows the science of Krishna, they can be a guru. And why do we need a guru? That's also there because it's the only way to solve the problems of life. We can't solve them by any amount of academic knowledge or scholarship or position or wealth. Okay, so these are all very fundamental general principles. Jatin?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Basically, I had a question regarding surrendering. So, like, being indecisive in our personal life or some situations, we have to surrender to a guru. Like, what kind of surrenderment or a person should surrender himself to? Like, I'm not crystal clear about it. Firstly, and second thing is like you mentioned that you should consult a guru instead of his situations. So instead of his education or material things, how would I recognize that this is a perfect guru or he knows my situation or he could guide me? Because considering the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna and Krishna are both on the same page or on the same situation, considering on the same location. So how come a guru would know that my devotee is facing this problem, or how would he get?
Yeah. So, I mean, you need to have a relationship with your guru, right? That's why Krishna and Arjuna, they have a relationship. They've known each other for a long time. So the surrender is also, it's a gradual process. I mean, it can be all at once, but it generally tends to be a gradual process that you're inspired by a guru's lectures, kirtans, his, observing his qualities and behavior. That you're inspired that this is a person who I could surrender to. This is a person that I trust. I can put my faith in. I can, serve with heart and soul. And then you connect with that person, right? You reach out to them either personally, email, or whatever, you connect with them. And then you begin to communicate. You begin to correspond, ask questions, get answers, tell them what's going on in your life, give a report, ask for advice and guidance, receive the guidance, apply the guidance, you get more faith, like that. So you build a relationship, and they get to know, the spiritual master gets to know you get to know them. And yeah. And then gradually you can surrender more because you feel like this person really knows me. I trust they know what is best for me, right? That's what Krishna's saying, that I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Why? Because I trust that you know what's best for me, and that you're going to tell me what's best for me. You're not just going to tell me what is good for you. Like, we trust that the guru actually has our real interests at heart, and is not just going to use us for his own purposes. Even though it may be spiritual purposes, but it's not what's good for him or his project or his, bank balance or whatever, but it's what's good for you. So that takes some time. And that's why, in ISKCON, we don't just like walk in the door and get initiated immediately, even if though you would like to and feel like you want to just give your whole life and soul to this movement. But still, there's a period of time from the time that the first 6 months, you just cultivate your relationship with Srila Prabhupada, study Prabhupada's books, worship Srila Prabhupada, go to Guru Puja, and read Prabhupada Lilamrita, try to understand, Srila Prabhupada's qualities, his achievements, who he is, what he represents, all that. And then, when you feel like you can put your faith in Prabhupada, you can dedicate yourself to his movement, then give yourself 6 months to develop that relationship, at least 6 months. Then you can start to look for a Diksha Guru amongst, one of his disciples or grand disciples who's an authorized Diksha Guru. And then you you connect with that person and start to develop your relationship. And that's at least another 6 months where you're building the relationship. You're testing the guru is testing you to see if it's a good fit, right? Kind of like, marriage. Although maybe like in India and Pakistan, you don't know each other so well before you get married sometimes, if it's an arranged marriage. But generally, I mean, at least in Western culture, it's like they have to get to know each other to see if they're a good match. And so then, yeah, after, maybe a couple of years of getting to know each other, they're like, okay, I think I can actually like live with this person for the rest of my life. So let's get married. So like that, you get to know the person, you think, okay, I think I can surrender to this person. I can trust them. If they tell me to do something, I can do it. I'm willing to just like put aside my own opinions and what I think is best, and accept that this person knows better than I do what's best for me. Right? Because Arjuna, he already told us what he thinks is best. He thinks the best thing is that not fighting is to not fight. And he gives so many good reasons, why he thinks that's the best thing to do. And but then he's still not feeling happy about his decision. He's still feeling depressed and stressed and despondent. So then he's like, Krishna, please, you tell me what's best, because I actually don't really know. These are my ideas, but I really don't know what to do. So
I have another question with the question is related to the above argument or the thing you discussed. That is like once you, as you mentioned, there's a journey of 6 months, and after that you put another 6 months. The person who is during his education or continuing his whatever he is doing, or as you were doing, I read your the journey to Krishna consciousness, the document shared by Bimlaji. So so like it is a long term commitment for this organization or for this movement. And once you go for 6 months and then you realize that I am not good fit here, or I am a good fit here. So what to do? Like, you are stuck somewhat in a situation if one is giving his life 1 year or more than that. So like how could a person be like in that situation, or one should go for trial and like look if I am a good fit for this situation, for this organization or for this movement, or I am not good fit for this.
I mean, you just have to try it. You just have to kind of dive in there and experiment. You'll never know by
Like
staying outside.
sorry for interrupting. I read your journey. Like you decided to go for Christian missionary college, and unfortunately, you ended up in a London for ISKCON Mandir. That was something unfortunate, but you ended up your life giving in that. Although you had realized it, that this is a good fit for me, and I have to put my giving up my life in this organization or for this movement. But what if you weren't able to reach London, or you would have landed to somewhere else, so you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
So Krishna had a plan. Krishna's plan is always the plan that prevails.
okay.
And Krishna knew also that probably if I became a Christian missionary, I wouldn't have been very happy, because I wouldn't have had a whole, I mean, ISKCON is so wonderful in that, it's an international society. It's like you have family all over the world. There's so much support. There's so much, structure. There's a whole culture. There's a lifestyle. There's prasadam. It's like kirtan. It's so much better. It's just such a higher, more complete organization and spiritual process, spiritual society.
Again, I have a counter argument. Sorry for being.
Go ahead.
So, like you haven't been there in a Christian missionary or college or somewhere that. So how can you make a decision that, or make a comparison ISKCON to a Christian
Yeah.
missionary college?
Well, I mean, okay, I didn't go there because I became a devotee, but I mean, I know people that were doing that, right? And that's why I was interested. I was thinking, okay, well, maybe that's something I could do. But literally, it was like the only option. It's not like there were many options and that was the best one. That was the only thing that I could think of as a way of really devoting myself to serving God and bringing other people to God consciousness. But then when I met the devotees, I was like, oh my God, this is so much better. This is like so much better. So yeah, Krishna was like, okay, I get it. You want to devote yourself to me. You want to spread Krishna consciousness. Um, you know, Christian missionary stuff, that's like, it's okay, but I have something better for you. Right? Krishna's like, I have something better for you. And then he just brought me to the temple. Here you go. This is it. Okay. I mean, because if you look at it, just objectively speaking, Christianity, it's like the knowledge of God, knowledge of spiritual world, the philosophy, it's very limited. It's very, very sparse, actually. There's not a lot of information. It's not a lot of knowledge available through the Bible, through the tradition. I mean, most Christians, they have to depend very heavily on revelation from within the heart because there's not a lot in terms of teachings or scripture. Whereas Krishna consciousness, we have the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the whole spiritual world handed to us on a silver platter, in terms of Krishna's pastimes and Goloka Vrindavan and the Vaikunthas and the structure of this universe and everything, it's just like leagues and leagues and leagues above and beyond what any other religion has to offer. So Krishna knew that my intellect was not going to be satisfied with all the unanswered questions. And then also like going out and being a missionary, trying to give that to others, like, what am I giving? I can say, yeah, I come to Jesus. He died for your sins. He's your personal savior. But then what else? I don't have much there's not much to tell people. But with Krishna consciousness, with the Vedic tradition, there's so much to tell people. There's so much to share. There's so much to teach. And Krishna knew that I had to be a teacher, and so I needed something to teach for a lifetime of teaching.
Now you don't bow down to Jesus, you burn in hell.
What's that?
You don't bow down to Jesus, you don't submit to Jesus, you rot in hell. You burn in hell. That's like
I know,
eternal
that was
damnation.
that's also very disturbing. Yeah, that's what I really like that about Krishna consciousness, that it's like you, even if you do go to hell, it's like a prison sentence. You get, 20 years in jail, you get out, you can try again to be a good person, right? So, you get your punishment in hell, but you get another chance. Okay, back to human form life. Now try to do the right thing. Now try to worship the Lord, and so that makes more sense. That's actually consistent with the conception of God, that God is kind, that God is loving, that God is merciful. Right? How can you say God is merciful and God is loving and then say that God will like condemn you to eternal damnation in hell? It just doesn't make sense. Right? So yeah, Christianity is very simplistic. And it's good, it's a good start. But it's simple. It's kind of like, elementary school, primary school. And then Krishna consciousness is like, PhD program in God consciousness. Okay. So we have to evolve. All right, let's go to texts 10 to 12. Kamala Devi.
Hare Krishna. Text 10. O descendant of Bharata, at the time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Text 11. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Text 12. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be.
Yeah. Okay. So here's where Krishna actually starts his instructions. Krishna's first instruction is here in the text 11. Vashocyanam vashoshams tvam pragyavadam chabhasase gatasum agatasum cha nanu shoshanti panditana. So yeah, well, speaking learned words, so he's respectful. He's like, yes, you've said some intelligent things, you've presented some good arguments. However, you're lamenting what is not worthy of lamentation. Because wise people lament neither for the living nor the dead. So here we have a few more general principles. And that is that one who actually is learned, and what does it mean to be learned? It means to know the difference between the body and the soul. Right? This is real knowledge. When we get to chapter 13, you'll see that's 20 items of knowledge. So understanding the soul and perceiving the evil of birth, death, old and age and disease. That as souls, we're not meant to undergo these things. This is just very wrong. This is like a big problem, right? That we're undergoing. So knowing that we're souls and that the soul never dies is real knowledge, real learning. And then another principle that Prabhupada gives in that purport is that knowledge of matter, the soul, and the supreme is even more important than religious formularies. So we were talking about how, of course, obviously this spiritual knowledge is more valuable than material knowledge. But here he's also saying that it's more important than religious formularies. So what do you think he means here by religious formularies?
Means some duties like we have to do this, like maybe there's no reason behind it, or even if there's the reason, but like they are fixed, and like there's no feeling like that, like there's no surrender like this.
Without devotion, just for the sake of formality we are doing.
Okay, so yeah, so there's two things. So you brought up two things. So one is kind of like sort of mundane duties, right? Because there's materialistic religion, right? There's that religion which we do our duties and we get, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. We do our dharma according to our varna and ashram, or karma kanda injunctions. We worship this person and we please them and we get this and get that. And yeah, so that's one aspect of it, is this kind of like religion that's oriented towards material gain, and also what tends to be mechanical, right? Like you're saying, that it's without love and devotion. It's just it's mechanical, ritualistic. Yeah, rituals. So even more important than doing some religious ritual is really understanding who you are, right? Because especially, in the East, there's a lot of ritual, right? People go to temple, they'll just do their thing. They're sometimes not even thinking what they're doing. They're sometimes not even understanding who is that on the altar. But they just walk in, they do their stuff, and they give some donation, they say some prayer, ask for some material thing, and usually, and then they, leave. And okay, I did my duty. I went to the mandir. I did my prayers. Right? It's a ritual. So and then they go in thinking, I'm this body and I'm this person and I'm, need this and that and I'm going to ask God for it. And then they walk out thinking the same. Like the heart didn't change. So what Krishna really wants to see us doing is not just doing some mechanical duty-driven ritual, but he wants to see us actually having a change of the heart, actually realizing ourselves, connecting with him in a personal, loving relationship. And so this is what um, yeah, Srila Prabhupada is saying is more important. Okay, and then there's another thing here, is that towards the end of the purport to text 11, he says, the body is not as important as the soul. So that's something very important to remember, that the body is not as important as the soul. It's a very, very simple point, but it's something that we need to be reminded of, right? Because we often give more importance to the body than the soul. Right? We're like that woman with the bird in the cage. That story. There's this woman and she got a bird as a gift, and it came in a nice pretty cage, and she had it in her house. And then every morning she's taking care of the cage. She's, cleaning it out and polishing it and dusting it and making it shine. And then after a few weeks, she wakes up and she goes down there to clean the cage, and the bird's dead. So then she calls up her friend that gave her this bird as a gift, and she's like, I don't know what happened. Something terrible happened. She said, what? She said, well, I woke up and the bird was dead. I said, oh, well, what were you feeding it? And she's like, feeding it? And I said, yeah, what were you feeding it? Were you giving it water? Were you giving it food? What were you giving it? She's like, oh, I wasn't feeding it or giving it water. I was just taking care of the cage, like, and then the friend's like, duh, you had to feed the bird. No wonder it died. So that's the thing, is that the soul is the bird and the body is just a cage that this bird is in. And we spend so much time taking care of our cage, right? We're bathing it and we're going out and buying nice clothes and getting dressed and ornaments and decorating it and polishing it and doing our hair and styling it and putting some gel and making it stand up and shaving and grooming, making sure the beard and mustache are perfectly trimmed, and what else do we do? Oh, putting on the makeup, the eyes, the fairness cream, and the long eyelashes, and we're getting our eyebrows, threaded, and so that they're really nice. There's not an eyebrow out of place, and we're taking very good. We go getting a pedicure, making sure that our toenails are pretty and all that. Getting plenty of sleep, beauty sleep, and going to the gym, working out, being fit, getting muscles, gotta look good and have a thin waistline and all of that, right? We spend a lot of time, what to speak of eating and all this time we spend buying food and cooking and cleaning, and then all the comforts, you know, the nice bed and the chairs and the house plants and the curtains and the, you know, AC and the heater and all these things to just keep our bodies nice and comfortable and make them look pretty and smell nice and right? And then, I mean, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but how much time are we spending on our actual soul? How much are we, you know, how much compared to the amount of time that we spend polishing and cleaning the cage, how much time are we giving to the actual bird, feeding the bird and making sure that it's nice, good quality food? It's not going to be bad food. So we need to feed our souls. We need to take care of our soul and keep the soul beautiful and keep the soul healthy and keep the soul fit and help the soul advance and purify the soul and get this soul back home, back to Godhead where it belongs. So that is more important, right? The body is not as important as the soul. So if we just look at our lives and just just take any day and just calculate how much time today did I spend on my body or someone else's body. And, you know, because we're also like serving other people's body, or maybe if you're washing your clothes for your family members or cooking for them or bathing them or whatever, all the things that you do for your body, you do for their body. And yeah, so how much time this day did I spend taking care of my cage or someone else's cage compared to how much time and energy I spent into actually taking care of the bird in my cage, or which is myself, or someone else's bird in their cage. Okay, so we need to think more about the bird. Yeah, Jatin?
I have a question that before doing all things for the soul, how should one realize that soul does exist?
Well, Krishna's going to teach us, but I'll just give you a little sneak preview here, is that he said that you can look at yourself. So you used to be a baby, right? There was a time when you were just like this big, right? In your mother's arms like that. And then there was a time when you were like 4 years old, you know, going to school with your little socks and shoes and shorts and little school uniform, right? And first day of school. And then there was a time when you were, you know, a teenager and you were, you know, in high school and exams and starting to get interested in girls and all these thoughts coming to your mind and all your worries and insecurities and stuff. And then there's a time when you're like a college student and you're thinking about your career. So all these different stages of life where your body's very different, right? Body is very different. Your body now is very different from when you were 6 months old, but
Yeah.
you're still the same person. And you can remember your first day of school. You can remember, you know, when some, you know, little boy insulted you when you were in middle school. You can remember when some like pretty girl looked at you and made your heart stir when you were 15, right? So it's the same you. So
But
that means the body changed, but it's the same you. That means you're not the body, you're the soul inside the body.
the thing is, like, if the soul does exist, that when the child is born, he or she does not has the conscious till the age of 8 or 9. I don't remember what I had did in a 7 years old or 6 year olds or 5 year olds.
Oh, really?
Although, yeah,
I remember in very detail my first day of school. I can tell you everything that happened on that day. From the time I stepped on the school bus, the time I got there, what I ate for lunch, and what the teacher asked us to do, and everything.
and the second thing is, if the soul does exist, so we can blame all things to the soul. Like if I want to go somewhere or do some wrong things, evil things, I can blame a soul. My soul insisted me to do this or do that. So I will be free. Like my soul is bad, but my body is good.
Well, the body is not bad or good. Body just is. It's just a lump of matter, basically. And the soul is always good because it's part and parcel of Krishna, who's all good. So then what's the bad thing? The bad thing is our conditioning, right? The conditioning that we've acquired from being in this world, starting with ahankar, right? The false ego. So false ego is what causes us to identify with the body, and then the mind, which pushes us to, well, basically the mind is also neutral because it's also just a subtle material element. Mind and intelligence are just material elements. But then what happens is that they become covered by lust and anger and greed, envy, and these bad qualities. And then those qualities push us to do things that we as souls would not naturally do. That's the problem.
So, like, the question is not still crystal clear or something like that. Like, soul does exist or it does not. And what if I die tomorrow and I came to know that soul was nothing and it was just it's a myth.
Yeah. You know, there's something called, what's it called? Pascal's challenge or something like that. Anyways, there was
Wager.
this Pascal's wager. Yeah. So he says, this is very logical. He says that, okay, there's two options. Either God exists or God doesn't exist, right? So if, and then there are the two possibilities, God exists and God doesn't exist. And then I have two options. I can believe in God or I cannot believe in God. Okay. So let's say I don't believe in God. I decide that I'm going to be an atheist. I deny the existence of God, and God doesn't exist. So, okay, I didn't believe in God. I was right. God didn't exist. Whatever. There's no soul. I die. It's over. Blah. You know, it didn't matter it made no difference whatsoever. Okay, so then you were safe, or you turned out to be lucky, or not, whatever the case may be. Your belief didn't cause you any trouble. Your disbelief didn't cause you any problems. Okay, then, so, or the other option is I do believe in God, and it ends up that God doesn't exist. So what's the problem? I believed in something that didn't exist. Anyways, it helped me get through life a little better. I had someone to pray to. I had a feeling that, oh, there's somebody out there that cares about me, and it made me feel good. And studies have shown that people who are religious, who believe in God, they tend to be happier, more balanced, have better mental health, you know. So whatever, he didn't exist, but it helped me through life. It's all good. Okay. Then there's the other option that, okay, I don't believe in God, but God does exist. So now you're in trouble, right? Because God does exist, and it so happens that he is the supreme controller, and he does have the power to like tell you where you're going in your next birth. And you totally ignored him. You denied his existence. You probably offended him. And now you're going to face the judgment day, you know, at the end of your life. And it's not looking good for you. But if you believe in God, and then it turns out that God exists, then great. You know, it's like, woohoo, we're going back home, back to Godhead, because I believe in God. I spent my life serving him, worshiping him. It's all good. So the thing is, if you believe in God, whether God exists or not, you're still going to have a better life. You're going to have a better life in this life, and you're going to have a better life in the next life. And if you don't believe in God, if God doesn't exist, then whatever, it doesn't make a difference. If God does exist, you're in trouble. So either way, whether God exists or doesn't exist, it's better to believe in God. And because we can't prove it one way or the other, you know, at least materially speaking, we can't prove it. So the wise thing to do is to believe, because then you're safe. Either way, you're safe. Either way, it's better. And if you don't believe, then either it's having no effect on your existence, and it's potentially going to cause a huge problem for you.
Isn't
Right?
it we are dodging God?
What's that?
Isn't it we are dodging God? Playing with God,
Yeah.
like considering he does exist, I don't believe he doesn't exist, or he exists. So being a wise person, I should believe that God does exist and all that thing. Like,
Yeah, so the thing is, if you don't know whether God exists or not, just give him the benefit of the doubt, you know? Like, okay, God, I'm not sure if you exist, but let's just go with the fact that, let's just go with you existing. You know, let me just live my life that way, as if you did exist. And then the thing is, if you give God the benefit of the doubt and you just like, you kind of entertain the idea that, well, he could exist. And actually, there's a lot in the world that indicates that he does exist, right? Like just the way everything in this world is created, how the sun is rising at the certain time every day, how your body is designed, as all the systems and organs are so well, designed, the structure matches the function, and it goes on, and there are all these systems and cycles in nature that nobody made, they're just there. And it didn't come from an explosion, because when things explode, they don't generally become super highly organized, efficiently functioning things afterwards, right? They just become a mess. So yeah, there's so much evidence that there is an intelligent designer out there, because we can see intelligent design in the universe. Everywhere we look, from a grain of sand to a blade of grass to, the a molecule of DNA and everything else, the structure of the universe. So there's so much evidence that God exists, and there's very little evidence that he doesn't. And so if we just accept that he does exist, then it's good for us. And then the more we worship him, the more happy we become. So then, see, then you start actually worshiping God, and then you start feeling it. You feel his reciprocation. And then it becomes like beyond, there's no doubt that God exists, right? After a while of being a devotee, chanting Hare Krishna, doing service, it's like there is absolutely no doubt that God exists and that Krishna is God. Because you can feel his presence, you can feel his reciprocation, you can feel how he's arranging everything in your life. You are experiencing God like every day.
The thing is, we guys are facing like as you mentioned earlier, the ritualistic life. From our young age, just parents told us, go to mandir, do this, do that, do this, do that,
Yeah.
and we have done that all without knowing what is purpose behind that, what is the meaning behind that, why I am doing
Yeah.
this, or why I am fasting on the gears or the day. So
Yeah.
after exploring or coming onto the being an adult, being 18 years old, 20 years old, or whatever, and realizing that what am I doing and what is the purpose behind that. So that is something like then the questions are arising.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
problem
So
is,
that's
instead of being ritualistic from the very beginning, we should know what is the purpose behind that and why I am performing this or that.
exactly. Yeah. We have to start asking the questions, right? Like the Vedanta Sutra, the first aphorism is Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Right? Now that you've attained the human form of life, now that you're an adult, now is the time to inquire about the absolute truth. We really have to ask the questions. That's our responsibility as human beings, is that we have to ask these questions. Why am I doing this? What is the purpose? Who is God? Why am I here? And yeah, when I first came to Krishna consciousness, yeah, obviously, when you go to the temple, you all know there's so many different rituals and different prayers and things that we do, and you can go through the motions and get some benefit. But for me, I was like, I wasn't going to do anything that I didn't. Yeah, I literally refused to do anything until I understood why I was doing it. So I was very insistent. If Doherty said, oh, you have to wear these clothes, or you have to put this thing on your face, or you have to, wake up in the morning, or you have to, whatever, all the things that devotees do, like wash your feet before you eat or something like that. It's like, why? It's like, I'm not going to do it unless you can give me like a very good reason that's convincing, because I need to understand why I'm doing it. I'm not just going to do something blindly. I was very much like that. I was a little bit troublesome. So, yeah, but it was good, because then when I heard why I'm doing it, I'm like, okay, now I can actually do it with a purpose. I can do it intentionally, I can do it consciously, and I can understand, and I can have conviction in doing it. Because when my mind is like, what are you doing? That's a waste of time. Then my intelligence is like, no, there's a reason why I'm doing this, and this is the reason. And then intelligence can preach to the mind, and all right, let's do it then. Sure. So, yeah, find out what all those things mean, and keep asking the questions until somebody knows the answer. Because what you're going to find when you start asking people people who've been doing it for decades have no idea why they're doing it, which is sad but true. So, yeah, start asking the questions, and then if they don't know the answer, you might be like, well, maybe we should find out, and then find out. Everything like the arti tray, all the items. Why would you offer, like a ghee lamp? What pleasure does the Lord get out of, like a ghee lamp? But all of these things have some meaning, and we can research them. Okay. All right. I think we better move on. Oh, no, we can't move on yet. We have some points here. So text 12 is a really important verse. Never that was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us ever cease to be. So this is a good verse that Prabhupada refers to a lot in order to refute the Mayavad philosophy. Because Mayavad philosophy is that we're all one, and we're temporarily split into, different units. But this is all temporary. It's basically false. And that the reality is that we're going to get liberated and we're all going to become one again. And there's just going to be, there's one God, and that is us all together. So Krishna says, no, that's not how it is. Because never is there a time when I did not exist as an individual person, nor did you ever not exist as an individual person, and nor in the future shall any of us ever cease being individual people. We have our individuality in the past, present, and future. It's just that we're going to purify our individuality, right? In the present, we are conditioned individuals, and by engaging in the process of bhakti, we're going to become purified individuals. We're going to become pure devotees, and we're going to serve Krishna eternally. And for devotees, the concept of merging with the Lord, becoming one with the Lord, is considered to be like hell. Because if you're one with the Lord, how can you serve him? How can you love him? How can you dance with him? How can you eat with him? How can you embrace him? How can you fan him? How can you massage his lotus feet? You can't do anything. You just, you don't exist, basically. So Prabhupada said, this is spiritual suicide. So it's very dangerous. Mayavad philosophy is very dangerous. Who had their hand up and just put it down? Shobha.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, you have asked that we offer ghee lamp to Krishna as he gets pleasure. Then why we do Mangla Aarti? Why we offer Bhog? And why we do Sandhya Aarti? That's all. That all. Why? What are the reasons behind this?
Oh, you have to find out. I'm not going to tell you now because we're teaching Bhagavad Gita. You have to ask me questions relevant to the Bhagavad Gita. But you can find out. You approach your pujaris in your temple or deity worship ministry representative in your location, or write some emails, or go to chat GTP.
All right, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so we're eternally individuals, and we're eternal spiritual conscious beings. Same in quality with Krishna, but different in quantity. Yes, Poonam.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Mataji, as
Krishna.
you told us that the body is not as much important as soul is. So how can we simply take care of our soul? Like simply to take care of our body, we are doing skincare, that makeup, gym, and that all. So how can we
Yeah.
simply take care of our soul?
How to take care of the soul? Well, we
Yeah.
take care of the soul by devotional service, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam.
9 processes of devotion. Okay.
Yeah, that's the way we feed the soul, by serving Krishna. Damni?
If we don't take care of our body, then how will we take care of our soul? Like if I'm not mentally fine, then how will I, concentrate how to chant or like serving Krishna to satisfy
Yeah.
my soul?
Right. So I didn't say don't take care of your body. I didn't say don't. I said, well, I read what Prabhupada says, that the body is not as important as the soul. So the thing is that, see, this body, we get it all wrong. We think I'm this body and everything in relation to this body is mine, and the purpose of life is to enjoy my body through my senses, right? To enjoy sense gratification. But the actual fact is that I am the soul within the body, and this body is an instrument that I can use. I can engage all these senses in the service of the Lord, and that way I can actually use this body in the service of the soul, right? So because the body is actually a very valuable instrument, right? This human body is very rare and extremely valuable. And because with this human form of life, we can use the intelligence, the mind, the eyes, the ears, the mouth, all the senses to serve Krishna. And so we need to take good care of this body because it's a very important machine. And Prabhupada says that just if you have some machine, you need to, oil it and maintain it nicely, like you have a car, right? Your car is a valuable machine. Without your car, it's like how you're going to get to work, how you're going to get to school. So you need to take care of your car. You need to put gas in it, clean it, change the tires and change the oil and take it for a tune-up and do all these things to maintain your car. Make sure the brakes are working well and get to change your exhaust pipe sometimes when it starts making noise. Anyway, so you need to maintain the car and then it works for you and then you can do the things that you need to do because the car is helping you. So this body's a vehicle, right? Yantra Rudhanima. We're all sitting here in this vehicle that's like a machine made of the material energy, and it's a useful machine. So we can use it to support our spiritual advancement. Okay. So, but don't live for the body. Understand that this purpose of this body is to facilitate the soul's advancement, facilitate the soul's reconnection with Krishna. That's the point. Okay, good questions. So let's go now to text 13. Someone want to read? Go ahead. Bhavna.
As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change.
Yeah, so we spoke about this verse a little bit, and here Krishna's giving arguments here that you're lamenting because Bhishma, Drona, all these people on the other side, that you're going to have to kill them. But the fact is that they're not actually going to be killed. You can't kill the soul. The soul is not killable. And Krishna's going to speak a lot about that in this upcoming verses. And the soul is just passing. This is passed from childhood to youth to old age. It's going to, at the time of death, so-called death, it passes into another body. And so it's not something to lament about. It's not something to be bewildered about. It's just another change. It's like, you're in a building and there's so many rooms in the building. So you're walking from one room to the other room to the other room, and then you leave the building and walk into another building, and that also has rooms. So it's like that in this lifetime, like within this body, we're going from room to room in the building, from childhood to youth to old age. And then we leave the building and we go into another building and so many rooms there. So nobody's going to cry when you walk from one room to another, and nobody's going to cry when you exit the building and go into another building, because you're still there, right? So the same thing. We go through different stages of life. in this body, and then we leave this body and go into another body, and go through stages of life in that body, and leave that body, go to another body. You're still there. You're still alive. You're still fully yourself, and nothing really changed. You just kind of moved into a different location. That's it. That's all it is. Death is just going to a different location. Or so repackaging. Repackaging for the soul. You're going, the bird's getting out of one cage and going into another cage. Yeah, that's what it is. So what we want to do is see the success is not just going from one cage to another cage and trying to get a better cage, you know, going from one clunky, you know, aluminum cage to a nice fancy gold cage. And we want to get out of the cage and let the bird fly freely. So that's going back home, back to Godhead, right? Put the bird back in the forest where it can live its natural life in its element. So we want to get out of this material entanglement and go back to Godhead where we can live our real life, where the soul can be free to serve Krishna in its full, to its full potential. Because the material world serving Krishna is not so easy, right? There's so many limitations on what we can do, right? We have to, yeah, this body is in one sense it's useful, but in another sense it's limiting, you know, because we need to do so much to keep it clean. We need to put it to sleep at night and things, otherwise we can't function. So the soul wants to serve Krishna 24/7, but the body doesn't allow. So when we go back to Godhead, we can be free to serve Krishna as much as our heart desires, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without any limitations. Okay. All right, let's go to texts 14 and 15. Someone please read. Oh, Ishwar, did you have a question or are you going to read?
Hare Krishna. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and the disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. They arise from sense perceptions, a sign of birth, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Text 15. O best among men, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation.
Okay, thank you.
Amen.
Yes, I hear Krishna's actually being a little, he's being a little compassionate to Arjuna. And he's understanding that Arjuna's afraid of, you know, Arjuna may be understanding that, okay, I get it. Bhishma and Drona, they're eternal spirit souls. They're not going to die. Even if I kill them, they're still going to live on. The soul's going to go into another body. That's all well and good. But I'm going to lose my current relationship with them, right? I'm not going to be able to interact with them in the way that I do. I'm not going to see them in the way that I know them. You know, they're going to be gone from my vision, right? And I don't know where they're going to be, and who knows if and when I'll ever see them again, or if I'll be able to recognize them. So Arjuna has this fear of losing his current relationship. So then Krishna is saying, well, you know, this is the material world, and we just need to tolerate these things. It's just part of life. It's what we signed up for when we came to the material world, is losing everything. Do you want to go to a place where you are going to work very hard to get things and then lose everything? Sign me up. Yeah, I'd love that. Well, that's what we did. We came here. So we're literally going to have to lose everything. And everything, this is the world of coming and going, right? Everything comes and goes. Our youth comes and goes. Our happiness comes and goes. Our friendships come and go. Our families come and go. Our successes comes and goes. Our money comes and goes. Beauty comes and goes. You know, everything just comes and goes. So, but the good thing is that distress also comes and goes. Anxiety comes and goes. Everything just comes and goes. So sometimes what comes we like, and then we become unhappy when it goes, and sometimes what comes we don't like, and we become happy when it does go. But happiness itself comes and goes. So what he's saying is just like you need to be tolerant. Just be tolerant. Because maybe the summer's too hot, but then fall comes and it's nice. Fall's nice, but then winter comes and it's cold. You don't like it. You suffer. But then spring comes and it's nice. And it's just the way this world is, constantly changing. So he says that if you can actually be undisturbed in any material situation and just be steady in your consciousness, then that alone can make you eligible for liberation, which speaks to how difficult it is to be equipoised and be tolerant in all these situations. But it also promises that the reward for it is very high. We can actually get free from the cycle of birth and death just by being tolerant of all, tolerating the inevitable changes. Okay. All right, let's read. Yeah, so now Krishna is going to again focus on the unchanging nature of the soul. Let's read 16 to 20. Someone, please.
May I read, Mataji?
Yes, go ahead.
Text 16. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the body eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Text 17. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Text 18. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. Text 19. Neither he who thinks the living entity, the slayer, nor he who thinks it slain is in knowledge, for the self slays nor is slain. Text 20. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Yeah, so here Krishna is really teaching us the science of the soul. And this is Prabhupada would say that universities nowadays, they have so many departments, but where is the department of the soul? That where people can learn about who they are and how to, not only that I am a soul, but as a soul, what does a soul do? What am I supposed to do it as a soul? Like someone was asking how to feed the soul, right? How to take care of the soul. So yeah, Prabhupada explains in this section that the soul is described in the Upanishads as being 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair. That's how small we are. Tiny little minuscule. They can barely even see us. Need a microscope. Of course, you can't even, soul is spiritual, so you can't see it under a microscope. But it's very small, right? Infinitesimal. I would say that Krishna is infinite, God is infinite, and we are infinitesimal, which means infinitely small. So yeah, if you take a hair and you get the tip of it, and you split that into 10,000 pieces, then you get the size of the soul. So although it's so tiny, but it's situated there in the heart region of the body, not necessarily the pumping organ of the heart, but the heart region of the body. And it pervades the whole body by consciousness. So the soul gives life to the body. The soul is what makes the body attractive. Right? As soon as the body's gone, the body is just dead, unattractive. Nobody wants to touch it. And the soul also maintains the body. As soon as the soul leaves the body, then the body just starts decaying. So all of the things that the body does to regulate itself, the regulating the temperature, regulating your blood sugar level, regulating your all the different hormones that make everything work. That's all because of the presence of the soul. The soul like energizes. In the book Coming Back, Prabhupada it talks about how so the soul is situated in the heart, and the heart, we know from science, pumps blood throughout the body. So the veins bring the blood back to the heart and it gets oxygenated, and then the heart pumps that oxygenated blood to all the extremities and all over the body, and that's how the body maintains itself. So Prabhupada said, in the same way, the soul is situated in the heart, and consciousness is spread from the heart to all the different extremities of the body, so that there's consciousness, there's like life, basically, in every little, atom and molecule of the body. So, yeah. So we are souls, and the soul is eternal. No death for the soul. No birth, no death. And so therefore the soul can't be slain. So then Prabhupada is saying, Krishna is saying that he's saying that this body is going to come to an end. So you may as well fight, because the body in any case is going to end, and the soul in any case is never going to end. So the only thing that you're going to kill in this battle is people's bodies, which are going to end anyway. And that's not the real person. So you're not killing the real person. You're just like, you're just opening the cage. So that when the soul leaves, then, you didn't kill the soul, you didn't kill the person, and you can't kill the person. So there's no cause for lamentation. This is Krishna's arguments here. So in one sense, from the point of view of the Battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna is just giving some arguments to make Arjuna fight. But from the point of view of, at the same time, he's presenting it philosophically to teach everyone, all humanity for all time to come, the nature of the soul. So we're getting this very important spiritual knowledge. Okay. Yeah, also in the purport to text 20, Prabhupada says it's not just the soul and the body, but there's also the super soul. So Paramatma is also there, and he gives this analogy of the birds in the tree, right? That there's one bird that's trying to eat the fruits of the tree, and it's just absorbed in that. And then there's another bird who's just witnessing, and sanctioning, and wondering when that bird that's totally engrossed in eating the fruits is going to turn to him and be like, hey, is there something more to life than just eating fruits? Right. Okay, good. Let's do 21 and 22. Seema?
Mataji, what is five kind of air?
Five
Which is
kind of
situ-
airs?
Yeah, within the heart.
Is that one of your questions? Question bank questions?
Yeah, like I don't understand what we mean by here. Prabhupada say five kind of air, and soul is purified from the contamination of the five kind of material air.
Yeah, there's five. This is talking about the pranas, different pranas. There's like the prana and apana and whatever. I don't know what they're called, but they're one air that pushes things down, right? That kind of like pushes down, that makes you want to go to the bathroom, go to the toilet, basically, that air. And then there's another air that pushes things up, that like, yeah, that sort of makes you, yeah, anything that's rising, basically that will carry the soul upward when the soul's leaving the body, if you're a pious person. And then there's other kinds of souls that balance things, that regulate things. And yes, there's different airs. There's five different airs that function in different ways in the body to make the body do the things that it does. And that these airs also carry the soul out of the body at the time of death. but they have names. I can't remember them off the top of my head.
They're like more connected to the Ayurveda, actually. More connected to the
Yeah.
Ayurveda kind of thing. Yeah. Digestion and things like that. Apan, Vayan, Saman, Udan, Prana. Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, those ones. Yeah. Yeah, there's one air that helps with the digestion and with the assimilation of like nutrients into the bloodstream and things. Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's read the next two verses, 21 and 22. Anybody?
O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and mutable, kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Text number 22. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so here Krishna uses this analogy of clothes. So just like we have some clothes and you may be attached to your, let's say you have some shirt that you really like and you know, or some gopi skirt or something that you really like. And you know, you wear it and you wear it and you wear it and you wear it for years, then it starts getting faded and you keep wearing it, and then it starts maybe gets a few holes in it, keep wearing it, maybe you sew them up, keep wearing it. Then after a while the fabric gets so old and so thin that like it's just it basically is getting like dry rot, you know, it's just like you touch it and it rips. And then, you know, it's becoming tattered on the edges and near the hems and stuff. It's like starting to have little strings coming out and things. And they're just like, you know what? I have to like get rid of this thing, get a new one. So the body is like that, right? We're in this body for a long time, and maybe something breaks and we go to the doctor, we break a leg, we go get it fixed, and we have some illness, we go get some medicine, we cure it. But then after a while, it gets so old, it gets to the point where it's like everything is just going wrong with this body. It's like malfunctioning and it's beyond repair. It's just done, you know? And I need to give up. I need to get me a new one, you know, go to the mall and buy a new dress. So yeah, so it's like that. So when we get rid of old clothes, even if we're attached to them, you know, we might be sad saying goodbye to our favorite, you know, item of clothing and putting it in the garbage. But when we go to the store and we get something new, it's like nice, you know, it's like, all right, I got a new clothes, check this out. So yeah, leaving behind an old useless body and getting a new body is you know, it's not something to cry about. It's kind of like, hey, I got a fresh new body, you know, healthy new start. So of course, for the soul, getting another body is not great. You know, we don't want to take birth again in the material world. We want to go back home, back to Godhead. But just relatively speaking, if we have to have a body in this material world, it's better to have a nice new young body than an old, you know, invalid, disabled body, because we need to function. So Krishna's saying, yeah, everybody has to give up a body at some time and get a new body. So, you know, you're facilitating Bhishma. He's already old. He's a grandfather. You know, he can give up his old body, get a new fresh one. What's the problem? Yeah. So you can't kill him because the soul's indestructible. And actually you're just helping him get a better body. He's getting an upgrade. Okay. All right. Let's do 23 and 23 to 25.
Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, 23 to 25.
Text 23. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Text 24. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble.
and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Text 25. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
Yeah, so this is actually very, very liberating information, right? Because as it is now, if we hurt ourselves, we get really upset about it, right? If we, if something happens, like I have a friend who was in an accident, he injured his eye, and he's permanently blind in that eye. And not only that, but it's kind of gruesome to look at. It's like, it's all just like white and weird, and like it's like obviously messed up. So, yeah, I mean, if he wasn't a devotee, he might be really upset about that. But because he's a devotee, it's like, this body, it's nothing to lament about. It's not me. It's just whatever it is, it is. So, yeah, if we know we're not the body, and also old age, if you think you're the body, old age is hellish, because you're literally just watching what you think is yourself, just decline, just degenerate, dwindle, and die. It's very, very depressing. If you think you're the body as you get old, then whoosh. That's why, so many people in their old age, they just get really grumpy and irritable and bitter because, well, one thing is that all the things that they were promised would make them happy, that they very faithfully didn't make them happy, right? They got told that, oh, if you get an education, you get a good job and you'll make a lot of money and you'll have a nice family and you'll be happy. And they did all those things, and not a single one of those things made them happy. And not only that, but now they're frustrated and disappointed with all of the false promises that they were fed when they were young. And now they think that they never got spiritual education, so they think they're the body, and now the person that they think they are is just turning into a wreck. And so they just get really bitter. So that's why from the very beginning of life, we have to teach children and ourselves learn as soon as possible who we really are, that I'm a soul, and that the body is not important, as important as the soul, and that material things will not make us happy, right? That academic education, fame, position, wealth, these things are not going to make us happy. They're not going to solve the problems. So, okay, we need some money, do something, get some money, but don't make that your soul or even prime focus of life. Prime focus of life should be spiritual life, because I'm a spirit soul, I'm a spiritual being, I need to live a spiritual life. That's the main thing. And I can have some material gig on the side, to take care of my material body, because after all, I have this material body, I need to maintain it. So I just do the bare minimum, just keep body and soul together, right? The bare necessities of life, and keep it simple. And then we have more time for our spiritual life, right? And even that, material side gig that we do to maintain our bodies, we can connect that to Krishna. Try to do it in Krishna consciousness, offer some portion of whatever we earn to Krishna consciousness, and live that way simply. So yeah, and also this applies not just to the gross body, that whether we get hurt, whether we get sick, whether we get old, that it shouldn't affect us because we're not the body, but it also applies to our feelings, right? Because sometimes our bodies get hurt and sometimes our feelings get hurt. So if we know that we're not our bodies, if we know we're the soul, then we can remain peaceful in either situation. If someone insults us, if someone mistreats us, if someone calls us a bad name or whatever, it's like, okay, my mind is going to react because the mind is there and that's what the mind is trained to do, but I'm not my mind. And, I don't have to get disturbed by that, because the soul, whatever, if somebody's criticizing me, they're probably criticizing something to do with my body or my conditioning. They're not even talking about me, the soul, because what do they have to say about me? The soul is all blissful, full of knowledge, full of all good qualities. If they were going to speak about me as a soul, they would only be able to glorify me, because the soul is part and parcel of Krishna, is all glorious. So if someone criticizes me, it's okay. Yeah, I have this material conditioning, whatever. It's not me. I know I'm working on it. So we don't need to worry about these things. It's very, very liberating. So that means that you can actually be totally happy. You can be very blissful, even in a body that's, ugly or old or painful or sick, or even, when people are disturbing you or offending you or mistreating you, you can be totally happy and equipoised and peaceful, and even amidst the greatest tragedy. So this is very, very liberating, very empowering, and very helpful knowledge to enable us to navigate life and stay focused on the main thing, which is our spiritual life. Okay, let's see here. We're getting late here. Maybe we should stop. Actually, let's just read. Can we just read till text 30? Let's read 26 to 30, because that kind of ends this section on, the science of the soul. And then tomorrow's class, we'll start another topic. So please read 26 to 30. Yes, Komal Devi.
Text 26. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed. Text 27. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Text 28. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So, what need is there for lamentation? Text 29. Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing. After hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. Dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being.
Jai. All right, thank you. So now he's taking a little bit of a different angle, because previously he was saying that the soul is eternal and can't be killed. So that argument will work if you actually believe that you're a soul. But now he's going to argue from the atheistic point of view, that even if you think that the soul dies, or even if you think there is no soul, that we're just material bodies, then either way, death is sure. Either way, you're going to die, right? The body has this fleeting existence, but the components of the body are not lost. So even if we're just thinking, even if you think you're a material body, okay, body's going to die, but the body is not going to die also, in a sense that all the material elements that the body is made of are still going to be there, right? They're just going to get recycled. So the body is not going to be finished. It's just going to be reallocated. It's going to be recycled. Like the different molecules are going to get broken down and decomposed. They'll become food for some insects or whatever. They'll become ashes, or they'll be transformed into some different form of matter or some different form of energy. So, like, there's a law in physics, the law of conservation of matter, right? That matter is neither created nor destroyed, that it simply changes form. So even the body is not destroyed. So not only can you not kill the soul, but you can't even destroy the body, because the body is just going to change its form. Like a potter takes a lump of clay and shapes it and fires it and calls it a pot. But then later, after using it, the pot just gets smashed and thrown away, and it becomes again earth. And then the earth mixes with water and becomes clay again, and again becomes a pot. So like that's the material body. And yeah, so atheistic scientists say, oh, the body, life is just a bunch of chemicals. So if that's true, that life is just a lot of chemicals combining together in different ways, then who cries when there's a loss of chemicals, right? If you have beaker in a laboratory with some chemicals in it, and by mistake it spills and gets dumped down the drain, like nobody's going to cry, right? Unless they were very expensive chemicals. But generally speaking, it's like you're not going to get all emotional about that. You're just going to be like, all right, turn on the water, rinse it down, let's start over. So, yeah. So in this way, Krishna is making the point that whether you believe in the soul or not, there's still no reason to lament about the loss of the body. So we shouldn't be confused that Krishna is promoting atheism. He's not. He's just using it to defeat Arjuna's arguments from all possible angles. And you can see that Krishna is so broad-minded that he's even willing to present issues from an atheistic viewpoint to make his point. So, yeah. And now this section ends talking about how the soul is amazing. That either by seeing it or describing it or hearing about it, one will be struck with wonder. And then there are some that even after hearing about it still can't understand it because it's just way too amazing. So then, yeah. Some people may be amazed to know that the soul, although it's smaller than a material atom, exists within the heart and provides life to all creatures, even plants, animals, microbes. So the soul is really an amazing thing. Materialists can't understand it, but anybody who's able to pull themselves out of the materialistic way of life and put their attention on at least trying to understand spiritual knowledge are great souls. So all of you who are in this class are amazing souls because you're trying to understand the soul. All right. So that ends our section for today. Any last questions? Excuse me. All right, so tomorrow we will talk about, we'll spend some time talking about violence. Because, a lot of spiritual people think that we should be nonviolent. And Krishna also says that that's one of the items of knowledge is nonviolence. Quality of a devotee is be merciful, nonviolent. But here in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is very clearly advocating violence. So we're going to speak a little bit about when is violence justified. Okay, and when it's not. So we'll see you then. In the meantime, have a nice evening and Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you,
Jai.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. Then now.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare